Hi, I'm just going to demonstrate how to do a rapid antigen test at home, and I'm using the Arista test, and the equipment you have is one swab, the cassette to do the test on, a buffer and a spiky end that also turns into a dropper. So first what we do is prepare your workstation. You've washed your hands, washed your workstation, open up the cassette, because you won't have enough hands otherwise if you do it afterwards. So you have your cassette on which to test. What you do is first of all open up the buffer using the spike to make a nice big hole, and then stand it on your workplace. Open up your swab from the end that's got the arrow on it. Don't open it too much because we're going to insert the swab back in there as a secure way to dispose of it. So you get your swab with the soft bit at the end. What you want to do is insert this into your nose as far as is comfortable. You can do it just around the front if you really don't want to go too deep, but it's a much more accurate test if you go as far back as you can. Best way to do it is tip your head back at 45 degrees and then insert it into your nostril with your hand up as high as possible. You want to be in your nostril for the count of 4, and take it out and do the other side. Head up, hand up so you can get underneath. There's some things in your nose called turbinates that you want to get underneath. So then you get the sample on there, makes your eyes water, insert it into your tube, right down into the liquid in the bottom of the tube. This should be quite squeezy, so you can squeeze the sides of it to make sure the liquid goes up above the tip of the sample swab. Squeeze it, move it around in there for the count of 15. So it's 4 in each nostril and then count of 15 in the tube. What you do is move it around, get all the gunk off, and then when you pull the swab out, you want to hold the sides of the tube really tight so you can squeeze all the sample off that swab. Then you can insert that back into the paper that you got it from. And you can also, there's a little line halfway up the swab, you can clip this in half and bend it. So then we're going to get the piercing end, put it back into the tube, click it down nice and hard, and then this little lid comes off with your fingernails to reveal a dropper. So then we get the cassette. On this cassette you'll see 2 wells. The smaller one with an S on it is for the sample. That's where you put your sample. The bigger well at the top has a C to see if the control line comes up, and a T for the testing line. So you want to do this into the bottom well, which is the sample. The best thing is to put this flat on a surface, because once you put your sample in, you don't want to touch it again for 15 minutes. So you put your sample in the sample well. We want 4 drops. It's better to do this in the light so you can see how many drops you've got. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. If you do 5, it doesn't really matter, but 4. So you do 4 in each nose, 15, mushing it around in the tube, 4 drops, and then 15 minutes. It's the rule of 4, 15, 4, 15. Once you've done the sample, clip the lid back on. We're going to be watching to see that the liquid moves up in the testing well. So it should be a purple liquid. Once you can see that the liquid is moving up here, you can then dispose of the sample because it's not necessarily anymore. What you can do is you clip this one, fold it in half along with your sample, put it back into the foil package that you got your cassette out of. And then that's all wrapped in 2 layers worth of covering, and that's a secure thing to throw out, even if it's COVID positive. And so then we're just going to wait 15 minutes until we get a result. What we do then is we would have the Viva Life app on your phone. It looks like this little one in here. It's got a little ribbon. It's downloadable as Viva Life Digital Pass on Android and on Apple in the shops. What you do is you click on your app, which you've already registered for. They'll do a video on how to register for that app. And the thing that you get. I'm not sure if this will show up on the screen, but at the bottom here it says add a digital certificate. What you do is push add certificate and then hover over the QR code on this specific test. Sometimes you need to go up and down a little bit depending on your camera. And then it will ask to upload a photograph. I'm not going to do that until 15 minutes has passed, but what you do is you click, I'll show it now because this is just an example, but after 15 minutes you then upload a photograph straight into the app and it stores that photograph in the app. Then it's going to ask me to record whether this was negative, positive or invalid. A negative is what we're showing up here. We have a line in the control, means this was a valid test, but there is no line in the test. So one line is a valid test and this is also negative. So on my app here, I would say this is a negative test. It's not positive because it doesn't have two lines, and it's not invalid because it has a line in the control. Push next. That gives us the details of this particular test. In the notes here, I always put the time of day that I did my test. So it's 9:45 p.m. because it would be quite different if I did this test at 6 in the morning. Then we save it, and what happens then is that if we push on this test that we've just entered, it gives me a digital certificate. That is a record of this test. So we know that this test was done on me. It's this one here. It also has a recording of the photograph. So that is something that you can show if you're going to a nursing home or to a hospital. And it's a valid certificate for an antigen test. So I hope that was helpful and that it gives you some confidence that if this test comes up negative, it's very, very unlikely that you're contagious. Even if you're COVID positive, you're at such a low viral load that you're pretty safe within the community, not a transmission risk. So this is a particularly useful test to do over the Christmas period where you might be in contact with lots of people, particularly elderly or vulnerable people. And I would encourage everybody to have a store of these tests to make sure that we can limit transmission over this period. So give me an email if you've got any questions, but I hope that was helpful.